Well, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? We're going to get started. I think I have a really good lesson to share with you guys tonight. So come on in. Hi, Tina. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Hi, Kanisa, Darlena. Come on in, everybody. Good to see everybody tonight. So tonight we're going to try to go the full hour as long as we can. We'll go till the lesson is over. And come on Instagram. I see you guys coming in. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Alicia. Good evening to everybody. Come on in. Hello, Miss Ruth. Hello, Karen. I see you. I see you. Come on in, you guys. Kiana. Good to see everybody. I want to say to you guys, I know I have a few of you here, but I believe in just getting started. But I want to say to you guys, I'm so grateful that you guys watch every week with me. And you guys are helping me to get good at this. And I hope it's blessing you as it is blessing me to do it. And so I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking your time out to join me every week to listen. And I hope it's helping you. I hope your life is getting better as a result of these little 1 hour, tidbits. But I thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I don't take it for granted that you guys take time out of your day to just sit and listen to little old me talk to you. But I appreciate it. Hey, Nichelle, come on in. Hi, Chavez. I see you. Bless you guys. Come on in. So tonight, again, I want to say again, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. You could be doing a number of other things, watching your recording from Queen Sugar last night or Power on Sunday. You could be doing anything other than sitting and listening to me. But I appreciate you being here. So tonight I want to ask you this question. And I read this book a few years ago. The book is by Stephen Covey and is titled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this book really changed my life. It's one of the many books that did something for me. I would say more than did something for me. It really changed my life. It changed a whole lot of things that I do differently, more so why. And that's why you might hear me always talk about the why over the what, because why we do what we do is so important to always examining ourselves. When we go after the why is so important because why keeps you in a place of always looking at yourself. Why keeps you in a place of growth. Why keeps you in a place of always having the spotlight on me? And not because you're wonderful, but because I just need to get some things. Hi, Pam. I see you, Pam. But I need to get some things in order. So this book was one of those books that sent me to the why, or that confirmed, Natalie, keep looking at you. Don't point the fingers and don't blame other people. But what can I do to make me better? And that's every single day. So tonight, I'm going to share with you from this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book is powerful. And if you are really serious about making yourself better and reading something along the lines of with the scripture, this book brings so much to life. This is a really good read. And so I would admonish you, get the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so tonight I'm going to share from that book a little bit of the first law, which is being proactive. Be proactive. So I want to ask you tonight, are you proactive or are you reactive? So let me tell you first what they mean. Proactive means I know I have a choice. I know I have the power to choose how I respond to a situation or a circumstance. And reactive says I don't have the power to choose. And I'm going to go a little deeper into these later on. But reactive says I just react. Whatever happens, I just react. And this situation, this circumstance, it calls to react this way. And had this circumstance, this is reactive. Had this circumstance not happened to me, I wouldn't have responded like I did. So reactive is I just respond. I respond out of emotionalism. I respond out of whatever the circumstance or the situation is. I just respond because it happened to me. But reaction, proaction is it happened to me. But in whatever the situation or circumstance is, I do know I have the power to choose how I'll respond. And I don't choose in a proactive state or mindset. I don't choose to respond emotionally. I don't choose to respond out of character. I don't choose to just respond. And so proactive and reactive, just a brief example. It's raining outside. The sun isn't coming up and it's raining. It's pouring down raining. Proactive people will say, you know what? It's still a great day. I'm getting my umbrella. I'm going out and I'm not going to shut up in the house. I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy this rainy day. Reactive people say, oh, it's raining. I feel so sad when it rains. I'm going to get wet. I don't want to go to work in the rain. I don't want to drive in the rain. The condition, reactive, dictates how you respond. Proactive, the condition does not dictate to me. Proactive, I have the power to choose what my response will be. So tonight, through this lesson, I want you to ask yourself, see yourself in the lesson. Am I proactive or am I reactive? Do I just jump out there and then I come back later with an explanation? Or does the situation happen to me and I take a moment of clarity, take that moment of clarity, and then I make my decision or I respond to the situation? How I choose to respond to the situation. So let's get after this. Let's do this. So I want to tell you this, though, in being proactive, you really have the power to make your life what you desire your life to be. Oftentimes, listen to me, oftentimes we think we don't have the power to change our lives. You have the power to make your life what you want it to be. And that's in all four categories of your life. You hear me talk about your health, your time, your money, your relationships. You have the power to make all of those what you want them to be. Listen to me. You have the power to do that. And so it's not based on if you desire to go get the credentials, you do that. I do a lot of certifications to get better at what I do. I do a lot of studying to get better at what I do. I do a lot of reading and self-work to be good at what I do. And so and it says, because I have the power to be what I want to be, to do what I want to do, to make the money that I want to make. And some of us are living in traps set by society. And we're going to talk about all of that. My environment that says I don't have the power. And what you're doing is you're going through life and you're reacting to life. You're living your life in a reactive state. Whatever the job gives me, I take it. Whatever the job says my vacation is, I take it. Why? Because I'm not proactive and I don't know that I have the power to make life better for me. Or this is the other danger. I do know I have the power, but I choose to be reactive. I choose to allow the circumstances and situations to dictate to me who I'm supposed to be. But you really have the power to make your life what you desire. If you're getting up and you're going to a job that you don't like, change that. And whatever it is that you have to do to make your life better, to get a better job, to get more money, to get the life that you desire, get up and make it happen. Get up and make it happen. And I'm sorry, Facebook, we're pausing, but I'm going to keep rolling with Instagram. You have the power to choose. So listen to this. Listen to this. We are not, and so life happens to everybody. Let me say that. Life happens to everybody. And we are not what happens to us. But what we do is we become how we respond to what happens to us. Rochelle, I need your help. We become how we respond to what happens to us. We are not what happens to us. But what happens is we become what our response is to what happened to us. It says I have poor connection right here. I don't know why. But I'm on Chrome. Minor technical difficulties for Facebook. I'm sorry. So we are not what happens to us, but what happens is when I react and I live in a reactive state, I become what my response is. So if people are always, making me feel bad, or people are always, I feel, doing things to me, I'm always reacting emotionally. If I'm always reacting emotionally, then my response will eventually be a victim. People are just against me. And that's what my response is. So now I go through my life where I don't trust people on the job. I don't trust people in the family. I don't trust people in all of this because my reaction has been an emotional reaction to what other people have done. And I become what my circumstances say. I become what my circumstances say, and I'm not what my circumstances are. Remember, life is going to happen to all of us. It's going to happen to all of us. And we're going to talk about tonight. Hold on, you guys, really quick. I'm going to come right back. I'm losing Facebook, but I'm going to come back. Hold on just a minute. Okay, you guys, I'm so sorry. So life is going to happen to all of us, but while it's happening and after it's happening, you have to understand this. You have the power to choose what your response will be. I'm trying to get Facebook back. And then when we come to understand, can't get it, show. And then when we come to understand, when you come to understand the situation is not happening to you, but the situation is happening for you, then you actually start to grow. When you come to understand this situation isn't happening to me, but it's happening for me, now growth starts to take place. You transition to a place of maturity. And so at that point, now I'm open for I'm open to grow. I'm opening to be better. So what Stephen Covey says in this chapter is we are not our feelings. We are not our moods. We are not even our thoughts. We're not our feelings. Listen to me. We're not our moods. We are not even our thoughts. And what we do is we become our feelings. We become our moods. We become our thoughts to a point where we say things like, well, this is just who I am. This is just the way I am. But that's really not who you have to be. Understand what I'm saying? It's not who you have to be. It is not who you have to be. It's who you've allowed the circumstances to make you based on how you respond to them. But it's not who you are. It is not who you are. Right? He says, we're not our moods. We are not our feelings. We are not even our thoughts. We become that because that's what we've been groomed to believe. But it's really not who you are. You have the power to choose. So the greatest level, look at this. The greatest level of self-awareness is what? Knowing yourself. Duh. The greatest level of self-awareness is knowing yourself. But how well do you know yourself? Because if a situation happened and you responded emotionally, or you reacted, I should say, you just jumped out and you reacted. And I said, hey, you just reacted. You didn't even think about it. You would say, no, I didn't. Well, they did this to me and this is how I responded back. And I said, but you have a reactive attitude. Most people would get offended and most people wouldn't like it. Well, I responded like that because you said this. I responded that way because you hurt my feelings. I responded this way because, and that's reactive behavior. That's what reactive behavior is. The circumstance happens, the situation happens, and I respond to it. And he says, and when you are aware of yourself, it enables you, self-awareness is enabling you to examine who you really are and to examine the way you see yourself. And oftentimes we don't look that deep into ourselves. We don't look at why we do what we do. What we do is we look at the situation that was done to us. We look at the person who did it to us. We look at the outside factor, but I don't look at me. And that's reactive behavior. And we go through life reacting. They did this to me and my feelings were hurt. And they said this to me and I got mad about it. And I said something back. And they did this to me. And so this is how I responded. He said, you're not your feelings, you're not your thoughts, and you are not your moods. He says, so if you're to own self-awareness, he says, that means you got to step outside of you. You got to look back at you, really take a long look at yourself, and then be honest with yourself. So when a situation, a circumstance happens, I don't look at you. I look at me. I don't look at what you did and wonder why you did it. I immediately look at my response. What do I need to do different so that doesn't happen to me again? And so what I might need to do different so that doesn't happen to me again is I might need to lose the person in my life. But that won't happen to me again. I'm not going to set myself up to allow that to happen to me again. What do I need to do to change that behavior in me, or so that that situation doesn't happen to me again? He says it's called self-awareness. I need to be aware of me. And self-awareness is being mindful to examine yourself. Stop looking at other people. Stop looking at what other people do to you. Stop looking at what other people say to you. Stop looking at how other people treat you and become proactive. Take that minute to pause and take power over how you respond to all that garbage. Because the response, as I said, might be, you know what? They're not going to do this to me again. I'm going to step away from this. The response might be, you know what? I didn't handle that properly and I need to do this. Rather than being reactive and going through life as the victim, what do I need to do to get better in becoming proactive as opposed to being reactive? And so if I'm always looking at myself, I'm always looking at myself. If you're always looking at yourself, you only concentrate on making you better. But if you go through life being the victim to everything that happens to you, you live in that reactive behavior, and growth cannot happen in your life. That's with your money. That's with your health. That's with your time. That's with relationships. How do I stop responding? How do I stop reacting to? And how do I just walk in being proactive? How do I stop? How do I gain discipline in my life? You have to transition from being reactive to being proactive. How do I change my behavior? How do I get committed? Stop being reactive and being proactive. Find your why. Find your reason. Go deeper. For once, go deeper. Go deeper in your life. Go deeper into you. Why do I have this behavior that I have? And how do I change this behavior? So how do I get to a reactive state? How do I live in a reactive state? Where did it come from? And if you're proactive, how did you get to a proactive state? Where did it come from? So look at this. Oftentimes, we see ourselves through the lens of our conditions. Through the lens of our conditions, our circumstances, I said earlier, our situations are our social circles. And our social circles are those paradigms. So if I'm looking at me, the way that I see me, and I said this earlier, we justify that behavior. Well, this is how, I grew up. And I'm going to go deeper into this. This is how my family is. Okay, but this is why you're at 35, at 45, where you were at 35. Or this is why at 35, you're where you were mentally, socially, spiritually, emotionally, where you were at 25. Because self-awareness is not a priority. There has been no self-examination to cause me to transition from reacting. If your behavior is the same way emotionally and mentally and physically, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And here it is 5 years later, and I'm still living paycheck to paycheck because you live in a certain state. You haven't changed your behavior. And so I've gotten loans to do this and loans to do this. And I've gotten borrowed money and done this and pulled from here and pulled from here with my money. But why am I still living paycheck to paycheck? And it's because my behavior has not changed. And so we see ourselves, we see ourselves through this small lens of my condition. Well, if my job paid me more money, through my situation. Well, if my ex paid child support, through my condition. We see ourselves through this small lens, and it's always somebody else's fault that my situation is not better. So I've created an identity around my situation, my circumstances. Oh, come on here, somebody. And then we learn to just make this a lifestyle. We have a reactive. Now it's not a behavior. Now it's not a habit, but now it's my lifestyle. It's how I live my life. I live my life in a reactive state. Well, I'm only going to have this much money. And then when we do get enough money, when we do get a lot of money, when we get that income tax back, guess what we do? The old behavior shows up and I blow that money. How much of that money did you save? How much did you? And I didn't. But we do it with health. We do it with relationships. That's why we start and stop with, our health and exercise, because I have a reactive behavior. Well, I'm going to do it now because the doctor told me. But proactive behavior says, you know what? I'm going to do it because I need to be healthy. And I'm going to keep repeating this to you guys because we live in these behaviors and we're not acknowledging that in order to grow out of that reactive state. And so look at this. If your lifestyle is a reactive behavior, this is how the word of God can't penetrate your life to change your life, because the word of God has the power to change your whole life. But if you live in a reactive state of being, even God can't come against your will to change your life. Isn't that something? Even God himself can't come in and change your behavior for you. Only you can allow him to come into you, into your heart, to change that behavior. So we spend a lifetime being victims to society, to people, to circumstances, and to all of these outside entities that affect us emotionally. We spend a lifetime. One bad breakup, and all of my breakups have been bad. Men are just dogs. Men just, I don't even need a man. I don't even want to deal. You can't trust no man. You can't. And you live in that reactive. Now you live a reactive lifestyle. And I guarantee you, if you live it in one area, you live it in several areas, because it's a domino effect. If you live it in one area, you live it in several areas. It's a domino effect. Because if he treated me like this, and because I live in a reactive lifestyle, you attract the same people that accept that lifestyle. And so the behavior is the same. So we spend this whole lifetime being victims to people, to circumstances, and all of these outside factors, because I don't have self-awareness. And self-awareness should be lived out daily. It's something we should walk in daily. Every day you should examine you. How am I doing today? Emotionally, financially, spiritually. How am I doing? How am I doing with my health today? How am I doing with my money today? How am I doing with my time this week? Because when we don't know we have the power to choose, we just take the reactive route. When I don't know I have the power to choose, I just take the reactive route. I don't know I have the power to choose. So he talks about the social mirror, and the social mirror sometimes, or most of the time, 90% of the time, has been our only vision. And the social mirror, he says, is our perceptions and our paradigms of the views of things around us, or is the view of our environment. And oftentimes it's distorted. So if we're looking into a social mirror, and the social mirror is my family, it's my job, it's my community, it's my this, it's my friends, it's my this, and it's not helping me to become more aware of myself, we're probably all the same. We're probably all the same. Either if your social circle is growing, is because there is self-awareness. But if your social circle has no self-awareness, we're all probably the same people we were 5 years ago. Still getting the same results. And so listen to me. This is not a judgment thing. It's not judging you. But the way that you know where you are is to look at your circumstance. Just look at your life. Someone said to me, yeah, I run on my goal list, 15 years ago in one of my classes, that I was going to buy a house. And I'm going to, buy this house and fix up this house. And they said, and I found the goal list. And I compared the goal list from 15 years ago to the goal list today, and they look exactly the same. The only difference was I lost the house that I bought. If your goal list looked the same every year, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to save money, I'll be more spiritual, spend time, rest, go on vacation, clean my house. If your last year goal list looks like this year's goal list, you're living a reactive lifestyle. There is no self-awareness. There is no growth. There is no change. Nothing's happening. And you're basically kind of going through the motions. And so you got to look at your social mirror. What is my environment? What is the mirror around me that's actually keeping me stuck? Where's my perception coming from? What map am I using? Where's my paradigm, my view of life coming from? Because evidently you're not being challenged to be greater. All your goal lists of the last 5 years say the same thing. I'm still trying to lose that 20 pounds. Still trying to save that $3,000 a year. Still going back to school. Still going to start the business. Still going to be a better wife. And my goal list just continues to look the same. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. So he talks about 3 social maps or 3 paradigms. And we know a map is for direction. So there are 3 social directions that cause us to live the lives that we lead or to have the behavior that we have. And the first one, Stephen Covey says, is genetic determinism. Genetics determines basically your behavior. And he said genetic determinism an example is, my grandparents were just angry. They grew up angry with each other. They raised us angry and they yelled at us and they talked to us. And because I grew up under all of that anger and hostility, that's just why I'm this way. I got it genetically. It's in my genes because my grandparents had it and they raised me. That's genetic determinism. You've determined that I'm this way because my grandparents were that way. So we're talking about 3 social maps, three directions, 3 ways that reasons that we live the life that we live. If you see yourself, you'll know it. And that can be proactive or that can be reactive. Because you can have grandparents who raised you to be focused, to be committed, to be determined, to find your purpose, to get a plan for your life, to be disciplined. And you can be that. Right? But reactive says, I don't blame because it was a negative part. And so then the next one is the psychic determinism. The way that you were taught to think, your parents raised you to think a certain way, and therefore you're like this. So some kids grow up with no self-esteem. Well, you're not going to make it. You can't go to college. We don't go to college. We go to work. And you ain't gonna be nothing. You just not gonna be anything. And if you don't need to go to college, and you need to go get a job because you're lazy and so you start to believe that up here and in here. It's psychic determinism. My mind has been conditioned to believe I just won't be anything. My mind has been conditioned to believe this is all that I can do. Well, in my family, we just went to work and you got a job and you took care of your family. And there's so much more to life than that. And I'm not saying don't go get a job and don't take care of your family, but we're going to live in this box for what? How long you going to live? 90 years? So you're going to live in this box for 90 years just going to work, working somebody else's plan. Now your children are gone and you're going to spend 10 more years after they leave, 15 more years after they leave, working somebody else's plan, but never pursuing the purpose, the gift, the talent, the intent that God put in you. Because, well, in my family, you just go to work. We would never be anything anyway. And we can't be doctors and we can't be this and we can't do this. And marriage doesn't work in my family. And all the men in my family are this and all the women are just going to do this. Come on here. That's psychic determinism. You've been conditioned to believe a certain way. And we're talking about social maps. Maps that have directed your life and you don't even know why your life is going this way. You just live in this reactive state, this reactive lifestyle because you've been conditioned mentally. Or somebody told you genetically that's who you are because that's how your girl, you just like your grandmother. She had a nasty attitude and you got a nasty attitude. Nope. And then the last one is environmental determinism. Somebody or something in your environment you believe is responsible for your situation or your behavior. Well, if the teachers did this, then my son would. And if the police didn't, then my son would. And if the preacher would do this, and if the church would step up, and if they would do, I hear that all the time. Well, if the women would do, because we need to reach out to people and we need to, I could sit in that for a minute, but I will tell you this. The man at the pool of Bethesda that was sitting on his mat and waiting for the angel to trouble the water. Let me tell you about environmental determinism. The man was sitting at the pool for 38 years waiting for an angel to move the water so that he could get in. And when Jesus came to him, he gave Jesus his excuse. And Jesus said, I'm not going to sit on the mat with you. I'm not going to pat you on the back. I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to cry with you. Do you want to get up and walk? Do you want to walk? He didn't sit down with him. He didn't do a prayer. He didn't put no oil on him. Oh, come on here, somebody. He didn't do any of that. And all this stuff we created as the church to pacify you keeps you in a reactive lifestyle. You don't take any power over your life because I'm going to call my pastor. I'm going to call my first lady and they're going to pray me through. And you still, and next year you got another problem that you need somebody to pray you through. Because, and because my environment, come on here, has determined this state for me and I need help again. And so then when we don't help you, it's our fault. Well, I left there because I hear that garbage all the time. And I don't mind saying it like this. Well, yeah, I left because it wasn't. How many churches have you been to? I asked you this the other day. How many churches have you been to? How many jobs have you had? How many friends have you stepped away from or have stepped away from you? How many times have you been on this roller coaster that it's somebody else's fault? If one of your children, listen to me. If one of your children said, I'm leaving here because y'all don't know what to do as parents. I'm going to find some parents that can help me be a good kid. You would say, sit your tail down somewhere. Wouldn't you? Yeah, you would. You would say, you better get somewhere and sit down because you are a child. You don't know what you need to grow. That's the same thing spiritually. Come on here. That's the same thing financially. That's the same thing with your health. I don't want to, them doctors, they don't. I just need if you knew how to heal yourself, heal yourself. Because you were expecting the doctors to do something great and you just really need to stop eating cake. It's my environment's fault. If they didn't do that to me, then I wouldn't be doing this. And we have whole entire communities that are saying, well, our kids are this because the schools are this. Before your kids get to a teacher at a school, they sit with you as a parent. Before they get to the teacher at the school, they sit with you as a parent. So no teacher is going to give me what I didn't do was put my children in the hands of a teacher to give them something that I as a parent should have given them. So we have environmental determinism. My fate is determined. My situation is like this because society said it. Because society said it. Black men are this because society said it. Not the 4 black men I raised and not the one I'm married to. Because society does not dictate to us. You have three social behaviors that we've adopted. Come on here. We've adopted these social behaviors and we live in a reactive mindset because all three of them are somebody else's fault. Genetic. My grandmother was just like this. I'm just like my grandmother. And it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Change it. Or that psychic determinism. Well, my parents made us believe that we couldn't and my mother told me I was going to be nothing and I was going to be not good. People have conditioned your mind to believe that's all you can do and you've accepted that and that's how you live your life. So you live limited. You live a limited life and you react and respond emotionally because we Owens and we ain't taking that. We're not going to lay down, but we're not going. That's psychic. You're still reacting. You've been taught to react and then we start justifying the behavior. And then my environmental determinism. Well, this is how it is where I live. And it's not how it has to be. So you can't tell me, well, I was in foster care, so they didn't have a chance. It's people that were in foster care and they came out fine. You can't use that as an excuse. Well, I didn't get it. I quit school in 7th grade. And there are people who quit school in 7th grade and they are multimillionaires. You can't use that as an excuse. Well, everybody in my family is just, I was watching the Iyanla with the Pace sisters. She said, all of you have hypertension. All of you have hypertension. So if it's something that flows through my family, guess where it's going to stop? With me. I'm not accepting it because my environment says that's what it is. I'm not going to accept divorce in my house because that's what the environment was in my family. I'm not accepting it. I refuse to accept it. We're not going to live from paycheck to paycheck and public aid for the rest of our life because that's what society said. No. I'm going to live where I want to live and how I want to live because I'm proactive. I have power over my own life. And we are living reactive because somebody told us the environment you grew up in is the environment you have to stay in. And that's a lie. You have the power to be proactive. You have the power to change. You have the power to do something different. So in that power to change, remember those three social maps. Genetic, psychic, you've been taught to believe it. Genetic is my grandparents were this way. And then environmental, my environment says this. Those are three social maps. And maps are the direction that you take your life based on those social maps. But in between that, listen, what happens though, you don't have to remain reactive, right? So when a circumstance or if the genetics doesn't change, grandparents don't change, if my parents don't change, if my environment does not change, you still have the power to choose. I told you this the other day. So there's something called the stimulus, he says, and the stimulus is what causes you to respond to it. So the stimulus is whatever happened to you, the condition, the environment, your grandparents, your parents, whatever it is, that's the stimulus. And then the response is how you respond to the stimulus. So between the stimulus and the response, you have the power to choose to either be reactive or to be proactive. So you have the stimulus and you have your response. And in between the stimulus and your response, there's about this much space. And you have the power to choose how you'll respond to genetics, to how your parents raised you, and to whatever your environment is. Whatever's happening at your job, whatever's happening at your school, whatever's happening in your community, whatever's happening with your family, whatever is or isn't happening in your church, you have the moment right here between the stimulus and the response to be proactive. I'm going to take control of my own life. I'm not waiting for pastor. I'm not waiting for the president to be black again. I'm not waiting for the doctor. I'm not waiting for my parents to tell me they love me. I'm not waiting for my husband to come back or my wife to come back home. I'm not waiting for my children to get better. I'm going to be proactive and take charge of my life. the stimulus and the response. And you got this much space in between to be proactive. What will you do with it? How are you living your life right now? Do you go to that reactive side and just act out of your emotion? So at some point you have the power to be proactive. And proactive, look at this, is based on your response or your decision, not your condition. Proactive people do not respond based on the condition. Reactive people, because proactive people believe we have the power to influence the outcome. Proactive people believe I have the power to influence my outcome. I know this is what happened to me, but my outcome will not be what happened to me. I'm not responding like that. And proactive people take responsibility for themselves. They take responsibility for their own actions. They take responsibility for their responses. And your life says you take responsibility for you. Your life says it. I can look at your life and tell you take responsibility for yourself, because they let everybody on the job go and some people are still depressed and you chose to pick yourself up and go start your business. That's being proactive. That's being proactive. I'm going to govern my life. I'm going to control my life. Listen to me. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 30 years with all of my children. And maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I said, I want to do this thing, personal development. I want to empower people to be their best selves. I want to do this. I want to speak. I want to teach. I want to coach. I want to mentor. I'm starting this business. Will people pay me to teach? I don't know. Will people pay me to speak? I don't know, but I'm going for it. And guess what? People give you, and then I had a problem with that reactive thing. Well, they're not going to pay me much, so I'll just only charge this. That's that reactive thing. That's my emotional side. Well, I'm not good enough to be paid this. And somebody said, why aren't you? Why aren't you good enough? If you're not good enough now, Natalie, get good. If I'm not good enough to make what everybody else makes, why don't I get good? Take responsibility for my life. Don't sit back and say, well, it's racism. They don't want a black woman. They want, it's about the colors. It's not. Because one thing my son said to me was, Mom, everybody wants the best. Everybody wants who's good. They will pay money if you are good. But you got to be good. And what we don't want to do is put the work in to get good. I want to be reactive and blame and say they didn't pick me because I'm a woman. They didn't pick me because I'm bald. They didn't pick me because I'm black. They didn't pick me because I have no experience. And listen, I walk into plenty of rooms with no experience, but they write the checks to me. Because I'm taking control of my life. And what you won't do is deny me because I'm not good. Because if you deny me, listen, you're going to say that lady was the best that walked in the room today. And if you tell me then I'm the best that walked in the room that day and you're just not doing it because I'm black, I can accept that. But what you won't do is deny my talent. You won't, because I'm going to be the best. Proactive people say I have the power to choose my destiny. My destiny does not choose me. We design our maps by the grace of God, by the will of God for our lives. We design our social maps. We shape our own paradigms by the grace and the will of God for our lives. We shape our paradigms. And reactive people need somebody to blame. Reactive people believe whatever the circumstance is, if it's a bad situation, it's a bad situation. If it's a sad situation, it's a sad situation. If your feelings got hurt or the truth came and you couldn't accept it, I didn't like what they said to me. Reactive people can't even get to the truth of growing and being better because their feelings got hurt from what they heard. And what they heard was the truth. But my emotions, remember, he said, we're not our feelings, we're not our moods, we're not our emotions, our thoughts. But reactive people lead with their feelings on their shoulders. And I can't hear the truth, come on here, from my feelings responding because of me reacting. Reactive people like to blame. Reactive people need to go tell somebody that somebody hurt them. And let me say this real quick. For all of you that receive reactive people, you're reactive too, because you need something to react to. So to all of you that receive reactive people, people that always blame, and their life says they are reactive people. In their life, they don't have anything. They're always struggling, always broke, always tired, always confused, always hurt, and it's always somebody else's fault. They're reactive. And here you are, the crutch, waiting to keep them in a reactive lifestyle because it keeps you in your reactive lifestyle where you are. It makes you feel good in your reactive lifestyle. So you become the doctor for them. And it's like two peas in a pod. We can't help each other to go anywhere. Reactive people like to point the finger and say it's somebody else's fault. Reactive people have no self-examination. And what reactive people do is they stick and move. They go where it's in their favor until it's not in their favor. And when it's not in their favor anymore, they find somewhere else to go. That's a reactive lifestyle. And you never get to plant your feet, because anything that grows has to go deep, has to go down before it goes up. And so you never get to be fully planted. It's like the parable of the seeds being planted. You go down and you sprout up, but because you don't wait long enough to go deep, you die off because your roots don't go deep. You've been here 3, 4, 5 years, and then we look up and you've gone to another job because the supervisor didn't like you. It's always somebody else. That's reactive. I'm always the victim. I'm always the victim. I'm always the victim. I would hear parents say that. Yeah, she don't like my son. This teacher, she got it out for my son. Why would she have it out for your son and he's 5? One parent, I would go in the room and her son would always be separate from the kids. Why would a teacher with 30 children in a classroom have it out for your 5-year-old child? That's reactive. Always the victim. And your life says that you take no responsibility for your status. Your life says it. I can look at your life and tell you're in the same place last year that you were this year. You've had some moments, but you haven't created a movement yet. You have moments of victories, but you have no steady lifestyle. Come on here, no momentum built. You keep starting over. Different location, different people, different location, different people, different location, different people, different location, different people. With no self-examination, the blame game, the victim mentality, and your life says it. No stability. All you have is what you have. You got a car. You got some shoes. We took in a young man 4 years ago, 14, came to my house, and in this bag, he had 24 pairs of shoes. No clothes, no underwear, no toothbrush, no hair comb, no book bag, no 24 pairs of Nike tennis shoes with no shoestrings. And you know what that bag represented to me? This boy has no foundation. He's been moving from place to place to place to place to place to house to house to house to house. All he had were the clothes on his back. 14. And some parent, that's genetic determinism. Some parent mapped out his life, and this is what his life is up to 14. That he has 24 pairs of shoes in a hefty bag and no foundation for his life. And so some adult determined, because somebody determined theirs, they could only pass it down. So he lives a reactive lifestyle with 24 bags of shoes in a bag, going from, my mother would say, pillar to post. Doesn't have anything. That's some of us. No stability. Well, in 3 years, I'm going to buy a house. And then we get to 3 years and you still not ready because you bought 200 pairs of shoes. Or you just went out to dinner and all of it went to Red Lobster or something. I don't know. But nothing to show for it. No growth has taken place. No advancement has taken place. And well, yeah, I'm not left that job because, girl, that supervisor, she just wasn't. And I had to leave there. But didn't you leave a job 3 years ago too? But it's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault. And that's what reactive people do. So when I ask you about knowing you, How well do you know you? Are you reactive or are you proactive? Do you walk on the side of everything happens to me? Come on here. Or are you proactive? What happens, it doesn't happen to me, it happens for me. Can you see God in your life in whatever the circumstance is? Am I the victim of cancer in my house? No, because we live a proactive life. Cancer's not stopping anything. If it's God's will that we leave because of cancer, we leave. But if it's God's will that we stay and we live with it, we're going to live with it and give him glory in the process. But we're not going to be victim to anything. And some of you are victim to people, victims to circumstances, victims to society, victims to your church, victims to your friends. Every week you got to get new friends because somebody hurt your feelings. Why don't you fix your feelings? Put your feelings in the shop and transition your feelings from reactive to proactive. Stop being hurt by everything and stop allowing people, listen to me, people that cannot advance you forward cannot have an opinion in your life. Oh, listen to me. It's like a football player with thousands of people in the stand. The fans have all the opinions they want. But what they do not do is dictate how that quarterback throws that ball and when his check goes to the bank. So he could care less what the people in the stands say. If they cannot, listen to me, build you up, restore your account, heal your body, listen to me. If they cannot advance you forward in life, stop listening to the critics. Stop and get off of that reactive bandwagon. Stop doing it because this is how it's been done in your family all your life. Stop it. Stop it. Take power over your life. Take charge of your life. Become proactive. If you want the position, go get it. If you want to go back to school, go get it. Come on here. If you want your marriage to be a success, make it a success. If you want to raise productive children, raise your children. Come on here. If you want to be the one in your family to do something different, to do something that has never been done, get up and do it. But don't sit back being reactive and being the victim to your genetics, to what your parents taught you and it wasn't right, or to your environment. I don't care where you grew up. And where you grew up has nothing to do with it. The young man grew up in Watts, went to prison for selling dope, became a sous chef in the baker. Then the sous chef left the prison as a chef and went to the Bellagio and became the head chef there. Story after story after story after story like that. Nick Vujicic, born with no arms and no legs. Golfing, skateboarding, surfing, all of it. No limits, you guys. So do you live your life in a reactive state or do you live your life in a proactive state? And when you begin to look at which state you are in, remember, you have a moment right here in between to choose. And in choosing if I'm reactive or proactive, in order to choose and be honest with yourself, you got to do self-awareness. Step away from you and really look at you. How do I respond to situations I don't like? How do I respond to the truth? How do I respond to circumstances that go on at the job? Am I the angry black man, the angry black woman, the angry so-and-so? How do I respond? How do I respond when my mate wants to have a conversation with me and I'm not willing to? Do I get defensive or am I open? Do I react? Come on here. Do I react immediately? Am I waiting for them to stop talking so I can talk, but I'm not really listening? Am I reactive or am I proactive? And that's a self-awareness check. I got to be honest with me and only look at myself. Why did that hurt my feelings? Why did it hurt my feelings? Yeah, they said what they said and but why did it hurt my feelings? Was it true or was it not? Why did I respond like that? Because even if it did hurt your feelings, can they advance you forward? Can they take you to the next level? Do they pay your bills? And if not, don't give people that much space in your life. I don't care who it is. Don't give them that much space. We put too much credit into other people. We give we give other people too much power over who we are. Not anymore. And you got to transition from being reactive to being proactive. Take charge of your life. Own your life. Stop saying society. Stop saying the president. You can't change people, but who you can change is the person you're going to see in the mirror in the morning. Get up tomorrow morning and change you. Stop making other people liable for your happiness or responsible for your happiness. Stop making them responsible for your happiness. You're not happy because you didn't want to be happy. You left because you just weren't happy there, and you're going to go somewhere else and not be happy there because you didn't change. But it's nobody else's fault. And don't let people blame you because they're not happy. You're not happy because you don't want to be happy. I'm not Jesus. I can't make you happy. And people are going to disappoint you. That's what we do. We disappoint each other. But all my eggs are not sitting in your lap either. Am I reactive or am I proactive? Choice is solely up to you. I love you guys. Thank you for listening tonight. My Facebook shut down, so I got to get to my Facebook people. I'll be back next Tuesday. But listen, after tonight, I will only go live. After this week, I will only go live on Tuesday nights. There will only once a week because I'm starting mentorship soon. And so that Thursday night will be a part of my mentorship program. If you are interested in mentorship, deadline to pay for the first month of mentorship is tomorrow. It's a quarterly mentorship program for women, Lady of Legacy mentorship. I would love for you to join me. If you would like to register, you can register at NatalieKOwens.com. It is a quarterly mentorship program. I would love for you to join me if you can. Thank you guys for watching. I so appreciate you. I love you. And you guys have a good night. If you want to jump over to Facebook, I'm going over there because I lost them in the beginning. So I'll talk to you guys. I'll see you guys next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Take care.